How does a midfielder monster dominate at Sassuolo, only to fade into the shadows at Inter Milan? Is Davide Frattesi a victim of system failure, or was the hype always louder than his game? From lung-bursting runs to questionable decision-making, the truth is deeper than you think. Stick around as we uncover the real Frattesi. Before we begin, hit that subscribe button. Now, let's get right into it. He might not be the most famous name you hear when people talk about Inter Milan's midfield right now, but come on. Can anyone really say that this man, born and bred in the eternal city of Rome, hasn't earned his stripes? Can anyone honestly look at Davide Frattesi's journey and say he hasn't put in the work, the sweat, the sacrifices to get to where he is today? Let's rewind a little. Back in the day, young Davide kicked off his football dreams in the Lazio youth system. But here's where it gets interesting. Football wasn't his only love. As a kid, Frattesi split his time between two courts, the football pitch and the tennis court. While many young footballers idolized strikers or midfield generals, Frattesi looked up to Roger Federer, who he tried to emulate, even if it meant a few broken tennis rackets along the way. Because how else do you learn to be great if you're not obsessively trying to copy greatness? Back then, his weekly routine was no joke. 3 football training sessions with Lazio, and then 2 more days lacing up for tennis. Who does that? But eventually, as life tends to do, it nudged him towards his true path. And after 7 solid years with Lazio, Davide made a decision that most kids in Rome would never even dream of crossing the line. In 2014, at just 15, he switched sides and joined Lazio's fiercest rivals, AS Roma. His performances in the Roma youth ranks caught the attention of the national selectors, and by December 2015, he'd earned his first Italy youth cap, repping the under-17s like a boss. Then came the 2016-17 season, where he played his part in Roma's Coppa Italia Primavera win by cementing his status as a real prospect. And just when it looked like he might be settling in at Roma, Sassuolo came calling. They saw something. They believed, and they made it official in the summer of 2017, snatching him up for €5 million. He made his senior debut and what would turn out to be his only appearance for Sassuolo that season in a 2-1 loss to Atalanta in the Coppa Italia back in December 2017. For the rest of the 2017-18 campaign, he returned to the Primavera squad, where he quietly kept grinding. And even though he featured just 9 times in the league, he still managed to score 4 goals and make 1 assist. Among those paying close attention was coach Paolo Nicolato, who had seen enough to call up Frattesi to the 2018 UEFA European Under-19 Championship. The tournament turned out to be a stage Frattesi would make the most of. At first, he had to wait his turn. He started the opening Group A match on the bench, coming on as a substitute in a tight 1-0 win over Finland. But whatever Nicoletto saw in the short cameo was enough to change the script. From that moment on, Frattesi was a fixture in the starting 11, trusted to help drive the team forward in every match that followed. In Italy's second group game, they took on Portugal, and Frattesi didn't just show up, he showed out. He found the back of the net and delivered an assist, playing a key role in Italy's victory over a strong Portuguese side. That kind of performance doesn't go unnoticed, and it cemented his role as one of the Azzurrini's standout players. But football has a cruel way of looping back around, doesn't it? After progressing through the knockout stages, Italy met Portugal once again, this time in the final. The match finished 4-3 in favor of Portugal, a dramatic end to what had been a fantastic campaign for Frattesi and his teammates. For the 2018-19 season, the next steps in Frattesi's development was a loan move to Serie B side Ascoli, a club based in the Marche region that wasn't exactly chasing titles, but provided the perfect environment for a young midfielder to learn the ropes of senior football. And while Ascoli only managed to finish 13th in the league, Frattesi's personal growth was what really mattered. He clocked 32 appearances in the Cadetti, showing maturity and discipline in the center of the park, and though he registered just 2 assists, it wasn't about the stats. It was about the experience, the minutes, and the evolution. So where do you go after a solid first full season of senior football? Straight to the international stage, of course. Frattesi was called up to represent Italy at the 2019 FIFA U20 World Cup. 2 years earlier, under the guidance of Alberico Ivani, the Italian U20 side had claimed an impressive 3rd place. And while that bar was ambitious, many believed this group had what it took to go even further. But things don't always play out like the scriptwriters intend. Despite some strong performances, Italy's journey ended in the semi-finals with a narrow 1-0 defeat to Ukraine, who went on to lift the trophy. But for Frattesi, the tournament was far from a disappointment. He played in 6 matches, found the back of the net twice, and even wore the captain's armband in the final group stage game. In yet another chapter of his ever-evolving football journey, Frattesi packed his bags once again, this time heading to Empoli for the 2019-20 season. The club had just been relegated from Serie A, and the mood around the Tuscan side was clear: bounce back as quickly as possible. For Frattesi, though, this wasn't just another loan. It was another opportunity to prove he could handle the demands of top-level football. Empoli gave him that stage, and Frattesi delivered. Over the course of 37 league appearances, he scored 5 goals and dished out 4 assists. The team finished 7th in the league and qualified for the promotion playoffs, setting up a tense clash with Chievo Verona. The match ended 1-1, but heartbreak struck again. Chievo moved on due to their superior league position, and Empoli's promotion hopes were crushed. Frattesi featured for 52 minutes in that match, and while it didn't end the way he would have hoped, it was another solid season under his belt. More minutes, more growth. But despite all the progress, Sassuolo wasn't quite ready to bring him into the first team fold just yet. They had one more move in mind. So off he went again, this time to Monza for the 2020-21 season. Monza ended their 2020-21 Serie B campaign in 3rd place, agonizingly close to automatic promotion, just 5 points shy of the finish line. It was a season of big ambition, high expectations, and bold plans, but the margin for error in Serie B is razor thin, and even a few missed opportunities can make all the difference. For Frattesi, it was another personal leap forward. His goal-scoring touch improved a lot from his time at Empoli, as he found the net 8 times in 37 league appearances, and also added 2 assists to his name. Not bad at all for a central midfielder, right? But as had become a theme in Frattesi's career up to that point, the real test came in the playoffs. Monza's hopes of reaching Serie A hinged on their performance against Cittadella. The first leg was a shocker. Cittadella stormed to a 3-0 win. Monza fought in the second leg to a 2-0 victory, but it wasn't enough. Frattesi played in both legs of that playoff tie, battling to the very end. Even while dealing with the heartbreak of club football, the Rome native continued to shine on the international stage. He remained a fixture at youth level for Italy, and in 2021, he suited up once more for the Azzurrini at the UEFA European U21 Championship. The youngster delivered 3 assists and showed yet again that he could consistently impact games against some of the best young talent in Europe. But if there's a reoccurring villain in Frattesi's international story, it's Portugal. In the quarterfinals of that U21 Euros, it was the Portuguese again who stood in the way, and once more, they had the last word. In a chaotic and high-scoring thriller, Italy fell 5-3 after extra time. It was a heartbreaking moment for an emotional Frattesi. But with his amazing performances for club and country, he was now set to make the step up. After an impressive 2020-21 campaign with Sassuolo, where he truly began to command attention in midfield and even played a role in helping Italy lift the Euro 2020 trophy, Manuel Locatelli earned himself a big move to Juventus. It was a deserved step up for Locatelli, but it also meant a door was opening back at Sassuolo. And guess who was ready to walk through it? Frattesi. Returning to Sassuolo ahead of the 2021-22 season, Davide Frattesi stepped into the very shoes Locatelli had left behind, but with a different rhythm, a different tempo, and a different impact altogether. There were 2 midfielders who couldn't be more different in how they approached the game. Locatelli was the deep-lying playmaker, the metronome sitting just ahead of the back 4, controlling the tempo, distributing calmly, shielding when needed. Frattesi, on the other hand, was the engine. He's the one surging forward, arriving late into the box, buzzing around the final third, always looking to stretch the play and punish tired legs. And under Alessio Dionisi's stewardship, Sassuolo didn't try to mold Frattesi into something he wasn't. Instead, the system adapted to let him do what he does best. His first full season back in Serie A was a strong one. He played 36 league matches, scoring 4 goals. But it was the season that followed where he stood out. He scored 7 goals in another 36-game run, but it wasn't just about the goals. It was the who and the how. Netting against big sides like Inter and Milan isn't just a confidence boost. It's a message to the rest of the league. That kind of performance doesn't go unnoticed. So when Inter Milan came calling in July 2023, it wasn't a surprise. The Nerazzurri secured Frattesi on a loan deal, but with an obligation to buy. But what else does Frattesi bring to the table, aside from his intelligent movement and box-to-box dynamism? Well, before we get into that, don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button if you haven't already. Now, let's get back to it. At 5'10", some might think that Frattesi is a little too clunky for tight spaces of modern midfield play. But trust me, nothing could be further from the truth. Despite his height, Frattesi is absolutely mesmerizing with the ball at his feet. The way he takes it on the half turn, his ability to glide through tight pressure, it's mesmerizing. When defenders think they've closed him down, Frattesi has this ability to wiggle free, using his dribbling skills to glide out of sticky situations. And here's another thing about Frattesi that's often overlooked but crucial is his remarkable durability. In a sport where injuries are an all too common setback, Frattesi is the exception. You know what they say, the best ability is availability, and Frattesi seems to embody that perfectly. In the 2021-22 season alone, he featured 36 times in Serie A for Sassuolo, and in total, he played 38 matches across all competitions, picking up a staggering 3,016 minutes on the field. Now, let's talk about positional awareness. In today's game, if a midfielder doesn't have the ability to read the pitch and move into the right spaces, they're as useful as a car without wheels. You could have all the technical ability in the world, but without positional sense, you're a liability. Frattesi, however, doesn't have that problem. The Italian international consistently moves into the correct spaces to receive the ball, to progress the play, or sometimes to simply pin two opponents down, forcing them to track him while leaving space for teammates to exploit. He knows when to drift into pockets of space, when to make a late run into the box, and when to sit deep and control the tempo. That's the kind of intelligence that separates good players from great ones, and Frattesi has it in abundance. But how is it that a player who seems to have everything in his locker is somehow still flying under the radar? Why is a midfielder with such obvious talent not being talked about in the same breath as his peers? It's a bit of a paradox, isn't it? Because on one hand, Davide Frattesi is a regular feature in the Italian national team setup. He's not just tagging along for international breaks, he's starting. He had already broken into the Azzurri squad before he even made his move to Inter Milan. That's how much faith Roberto Mancini had in him. And now, under Luciano Spalletti, the faith has continued. Spalletti clearly sees something special in him. Well, that's the other side of the story. Because while Frattesi is a key man in Italy's midfield, he's yet to lock down a starting place at Inter Milan. Sure, he's had minutes. There have been chances both from the bench and the occasional start, but they've often felt like afterthoughts. In his first season at Inter, he made just 5 starts in the league, and none of those came in the high-stakes season-defining matches. This season has shown some signs of improvement, but that's because injuries to Nicolo Barella have forced Inzaghi to turn to Frattesi more often. So why exactly isn't he playing regularly? Well, truth is, tactically speaking, Inter's midfield trio of Nicolo Barella, Hakan Çalhanoğlu, and Henrik Mkhitaryan is a well-established and balanced combination. And it's been tough for any player, let alone Frattesi, to displace any of them from the starting lineup. And the thing is, Frattesi's style of play closely mirrors that of Barella, who is dynamic box-to-box and relentless in his pressing. While that's an asset on the field, it also presents a dilemma. With both players performing the same role, it's difficult for both to coexist in the same midfield, especially when the team has found success with their existing trio. And then there's the arrival of Piotr Zielinski. The Polish international signing has only made things more complicated. With Zielinski offering yet another creative and versatile option in midfield, Frattesi's already limited chances have been reduced even further. There's also the emotional side of things, something that doesn't always get talked about enough when assessing a player's form or consistency on the pitch. For Frattesi, the struggles and eventual passing of his grandmother hit hard. He would later dedicate his Champions League goal against Bayern Munich to her, pointing to the sky. In his post-match comments, he admitted that her loss had thrown him off balance mentally. "I was struggling for 4 months. I was very, very close to my grandmother. I thought nothing could affect me like that. But when it happened, I tried to tell myself it wasn't going to happen, and that was a lie. I am generally an extroverted person, but I was really down. People could tell something was wrong even if I didn't talk about it." It is obvious now that Frattesi has not just been navigating the tactical complications at Inter, he's navigating grief, self-doubt, and the very real challenge of trying to maintain belief in a situation that hasn't always rewarded his effort. So the question becomes, how long before something gives? Will Inzaghi start trusting him more consistently? Will Frattesi adapt, evolve, or perhaps consider a change of scenery? Tell us what you feel in the comment section. We would love to hear your thoughts. If you like this video, don't forget to hit that like button and share this video with your friends. Also, stick around the channel because there are other exciting videos for you.